What's up, YouTube? This is your girl, Megan. Welcome back to my channel, to my returning subscribers. However, if this is your first time joining me on today, welcome. It's here we use information from celestial bodies to help us gain an understanding of our favorite celebrities, world events, but most importantly, our damn selves. So thumbs up this video, subscribe to become a part of the family. Come on in and have a seat, okay? So we're just going to jump straight to the chase today. I wanted to talk about fate and destiny within astrology, and more specifically within the scope of how to determine these things based on certain indicators within the natal chart. And I'm going to use a very public, a very infamous example to illustrate my points, okay? As you can see, this is definitely going to be in relation to the dearly departed Takeoff. Now, on my Patreon, I uploaded a semi-comprehensive natal chart reading for Takeoff. If you are interested in viewing such, feel free to become a part of the gang over there, okay? Shout out to my Patreon family. However, this video, I want to analyze two main components that are responsible for his early departure, but then moreover, B, are really clear-cut examples of how this was just a really fated experience for him, and where destiny and a lot of things could really, a lot of times, trump our free will. Because it's of my personal belief, as humans, obviously we have free will, but we oftentimes don't have as much of it as we think we do. Now, let me preface this video with this. And I touched on this on Patreon as well. I'm an astrologer. I am not a medium. Every time somebody passes away and I upload a public video, you do have a couple slows in the comments saying that it's unethical to read a deceased person's natal chart or whatever the case may be. I am not pulling on the current state of his soul. I do not know his soul's current journey, where it is. I am not trying to contact him and speak to him beyond the grave, okay? We all have natal charts, and they can be accessible. They can be delineated at any point in time. This is for educational purposes only. But shout out to my boy Takeoff, though. For real. So, with that being said, unless you've been hiding under a rock, Takeoff, who is 1/3 of the group Migos, unfortunately passed away on November 1st, in the early mornings after being basically caught in some crossfire. That's like the long story short. It's a lot of different narratives floating around on the internet. You got the Twitter and Instagram detectives. Everybody has their own theories what's happening. There have been no real arrests made or any type of official reports or conclusions drawn from his death as of yet. But the bottom line is this man is no longer with us, and it's a very tragic situation. Today, I believe, is his the day of his homegoing services in Atlanta. And so it's another reason why I thought it would be fitting to go ahead and drop this video. So let's first start with defining the word fate. So the textbook definition of fate is the development of events beyond a person's control, regarded as determined by a supernatural power. And so within the actual birth chart, the placement that deals with fate more than any other placement, arguably, would be the nodes, specifically the North Node. In astrology, the North Node tends to be what we need in order to evolve, right? But it also happens to come with a lot of predestined circumstances that are oftentimes initiated beyond our control, right? Which is one of the definitions of fate, that forces us to evolve on a soul level, that forces us to progress on a soul level. Your South Node is more so indicative of your past life and or early life conditioning. It is the area of familiarity. And you can look at this as being one big journey. So while we're here, especially in this particular reincarnation, the soul is on a journey to reach its highest peak, its highest form of evolution. And the North Node, once again, encapsulates that by handing out a lot of, circumstances that can be initiated by outside influences that are literally going to force a person to either sink or swim. Sink meaning like continue to cling to your South Node conditioning, or swim in the sense that you're actually going to activate and unlock a lot of that North Node energy and potential. So with that in mind, when it comes to Takeoff, who was born June 18th, 1994 in Lawrenceville, Georgia, he has his North Node at the fated 22nd degree of Scorpio, and it is forming a conjunction of Pluto. Scorpio as an archetype already deals with evolution. It deals with transformation. That's one of the biggest keywords that most people use when we talk about Scorpio. And the fact that Scorpio is very much co-ruled by Pluto makes this Pluto-Scorpio conjunction on the North Node that much more potent. So when we talk about Scorpio on the North Node, Pluto conjoined to the North Node, we're talking about a person who quite literally, their destiny is going to be predicated upon situations that are like bigger than they are. Point blank, period. Evolution is going to be a major staple in their life's experience. And this tends to manifest, and of course, the entirety of the birth chart helps to kind of shape the way that this is going to play out for each individual. But for the most part, when we talk about Scorpio North Nodes, Pluto conjoined to the North Node, this sense of evolution is going to play out by way of living a life that is, it could be very chaotic, very unstable, but also these are people who can be very influential while they are here. Okay, this is why you tend to have a lot of really famous people who could be even infamous people with Scorpio or Pluto effects on the North Node, people who are very, very powerful and influential and like elite. These could be very elite people. And if you ask me, he definitely upheld this part of his North Node as well, right? But another part of this could even deal with death, right? If we're talking about transformation, death is a literal physical transformation. A lot of Scorpio North Nodes, whether it be being placed in situations where they're up close and personal or where they're having really close encounters with death. This could be near-death experiences, having people around you die type of deal. Or some people themselves may very well meet an untimely death with Scorpio and or Pluto on the North Node. Now, if you are somebody with Scorpio on the North Node, Pluto aspecting your North Node, this is not the part of the video where you freak out and hyperventilate. Once again, this could play out differently person by person. Maybe you're the individual who has more of that up and close personal experience by way of other people, right? But in Takeoff's case, this quite literally, right? This Pluto Scorpio North Node conjunction made it so that it literally was a part of his fate, a part of his destiny to come here, do what he came to do, leave a powerful impact on other people, and then get up out of here when it was his time and depart. Okay. Scorpio is also the sign of collaboration. These are people who tend to, once again, impact other people because a lot of times they're in positions where they're working with other people, where they can be exalted upon, a lot of other people. So when it comes to his legacy, because your North Node could even deal with your legacy to a certain degree, it's etched in stone. It is what it is. The man was powerful. The man was one of a kind. There would never be another. And, if you ask me, I think he carved out a lane that gave his life meaning far beyond the superficial existence of having Taurus on the South Node. Taurus South Nodes, and this is definitely more so for Takeoff with his Mars being conjoined to his South Node. These are people who have to learn how to create some type of life that forces them to evolve past superficial pursuits or small-minded thinking. These are people who need to think big picture. And Mars, in a lot of respects, could also deal with our career. So an illustration of this would be like a rapper who gets into the game because he's only concerned about the money, cars, and the hoes, right? The physical goods and the riches. Taurus deals with money. It deals with wealth and what we can accumulate, what we can see, things that are tangible. But as time goes on, maybe that wasn't good enough for him anymore. Maybe leaving an impact was something that he strived for. Being the best in his field, being the top person in his field, being prominent, increasing his prominence, increasing his exclusivity, within his career field may have been his goal. And if you ask me, he accomplished it. And I think he did more so in death, because y'all know how y'all funny acting niggas do. When somebody died, y'all finally give them a chance. But we ain't even finna get on that, because we not finna act like I did not see my timeline on Twitter clowning Quavo and Takeoff for doing their joint album like a couple months ago when they was doing like promo, or maybe even like last month, and saying that it was corny and they fell off. But now that he's no longer with us, now y'all recognize him for being a GOAT and a legend. I already thought he was. But y'all are some funny acting people. But once again, different story for a different day. Anywho, in that regard, he still managed to activate and, in my opinion, fully actualize that Scorpio North Node energy, okay? So, with that in mind, we can just move on. The next really big indicator when we talk about like fate in the natal chart, this plays out in more of a aspect pattern, and everybody does not have this aspect pattern, but this aspect pattern is called a yod. I have a whole video dedicated to yods, what a yod is, the ins and outs of it. I might include this in the description section if I don't forget. But basically, it has the nickname God's finger. And it could deal with where, once again, things beyond our control come in and really shape the course of our lives. Things that are outside of our control come in and could really turn our world upside down. That's why it consists of two quincunxes and two planets sextiling one another. So, as it pertains to Takeoff, he actually has a yod that has his sun at the 27th degree of Gemini at the apex point, and forming a quincunx to his Pluto at the 25th degree of Scorpio, and then his Uranus at the 25th degree of Capricorn. And then his Pluto and Uranus are sextiling one another. Now, this could deal with where he was in a very well-established group, where he was somebody who, once again, rose to prominence, fame, and a lot of his connections that or a lot of the success that he received may have been by other people. Not that he wasn't talented in his own right, but I mean, this could be a person who literally, came up in a group, which he did, or benefited a lot from their relationships with other people, friends, whatever the case may be, especially with Uranus and Capricorn, where they're able to kind of climb the ladder, people who could get a lot of respect amongst their peers, even in death. Okay, with Pluto and Scorpio sextile Uranus, these people can be very well respected, even well into death. However, that sun and Pluto quincunx, that's actually a death quincunx, and it could deal with where, things could be going really well for him, but he could find himself in situations where, due to the actions of other people, and I'm going to be real, Gemini deals with our kin in the sense of uncles, siblings, cousins. Quavo technically was his uncle, but, they were raised like siblings, all of which could be encapsulated with this Gemini sun of his, especially at the 27th degree. And it could deal with where the reckless actions, the number 27 can be reckless, of a cousin, an uncle, or whatever, initiated some events that ultimately caused his downfall. And I know I'm going to get some comments like, why are you saying that it was Quavo's fault that he died and save it? I don't care. I don't care about your theories. I'm just reading it how I see in the chart, okay? I don't have a dog in the fight. It is what it is. According to this yard, this could illustrate a person whose own cousin, whose own brother, whatever the case may be, could be their downfall, where they could be implanted in environments with people who don't have their best interests at heart. Not necessarily implying that that could be the cousin per se, although it could, but it may not be. But it could also just deal with where maybe that person, due to their mouths, Gemini can deal with somebody running their mouth, especially at the 27th degree. It could deal with, once again, violence and impulsive actions and reactions that trigger off a very sudden chain of events, right? The sun forming a quincunx to that Uranus too, that could ultimately result in his demise. That sun quincunx to Pluto is a death aspect all day long. And, a lot of people were saying that Quavo was arguing with some of the gangsta boon coons prior to the situation. Once again, I'm not here to, say that like he's a horrible person or that the blood is on his hands. Y'all take it however y'all want to take it. From an astrological perspective, this is just how it pans out. Don't argue with me, argue with God. This is the finger of God we talking about. So, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this dynamic played out in several different situations throughout Takeoff's life, where maybe like Quavo, and we all know Quavo is kind of a wild card, would get into certain things, and then Takeoff would have to deal with the after effects of it. But with this yard, this could definitely be something that resulted or produced his death and kind of changed the course of his life and his lifespan in that regard. So, yeah, I just wanted to break those two things down, especially as they corresponded to fate and destiny. A lot of these things were it was just bigger than him. We can go and we can rehash what should have happened and where he should have been and who should have did this at what time. But certain things I really do believe happen for a reason. It doesn't minimize the situation. It doesn't make it okay. It doesn't make it any less sad or tragic. But, it just is what it is. So, once again, rest in peace, Takeoff. Y'all drop down in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think about these findings. And I will catch y'all in the next video. Bye.